The warning came at exactly Sojan 800 hours, Earth Standard Time. Every screen, every device, every communication channel across human space suddenly displayed the same message. A massive alien face filled the displays, its 4 red eyes glowing with contempt. Sharp teeth gleamed as the creature spoke in perfect human language. "Primitive humans of Earth," the alien said, its voice cold and mocking. "I am Admiral Vexitar of the Galactic Dominion Empire. Your pathetic species has been judged, unworthy of independent existence." Ji-Won Kim sat in his office on the top floor of the Earth Defense Council building. He was a small man with gray hair and kind eyes. Most people thought he looked more like a teacher than the head of Earth's military. He watched the alien's message with a calm expression, his hands folded on his desk. "You have 72 hours to surrender completely," Vexitar continued. "Dismantle your weapons. Prepare your populations for relocation. Resistance is pointless. We have 50,000 warships surrounding your world. You have... what? A few hundred old ships? Your technology is centuries behind ours." The alien laughed, a horrible sound that made people across Earth shiver. "Look outside your windows, humans. See your doom approaching." Ji-Won walked to his window and looked up at the sky. Even in the daylight, he could see dark shapes moving among the clouds. The Empire's ships were huge, each one the size of a city. They blocked out the sun in places, casting shadows across the Earth's surface. "Your surface cities will be destroyed first," Vexitar said. "Then we will hunt down every human colony in space. Your species will serve the Empire as slaves, or you will die. There is no third option." The transmission ended. Silence filled Ji-Won's office for a moment. Then his assistant, Yuna Lee, burst through the door. She was young, barely 25, with short black hair and frightened eyes. "Sir," she said, breathing hard, "the communications are going crazy. Every human colony is sending emergency signals. They want to know what we're going to do." Ji-Won nodded slowly. "Get me Admiral Park on the secure line." Minho Park commanded Earth's official space fleet. It was a small force of 200 ships, most of them old and outdated. The Empire's intelligence had been watching these ships for months. They knew exactly how weak humanity appeared to be. "Ji-Won," Minho's voice came through the speaker. "Did you see their fleet? Those ships are massive. Each one has more firepower than our entire navy." "I saw them," Ji-Won replied. "How are our ships performing?" "The usual. We're running practice drills, but honestly, our weapons wouldn't scratch their hulls. Our fastest ships can barely keep up with their slowest ones. It's hopeless." Ji-Won smiled slightly. "Keep running those drills, Minho. Make sure the Empire's sensors can pick up everything you're doing." "Sir?" Minho sounded confused. "Why would we want them to see our weaknesses? Just trust me, old friend, and make sure your crews look scared when they practice. Can you do that?" "That won't be hard," Minho said. "Most of them really are scared." After ending the call, Ji-Won turned to Yuna. "I need you to send a message to all human colonies. Tell them to remain calm and continue normal operations." "Normal operations?" Yuna's voice was high with stress. "Sir, we're about to be invaded by the most powerful empire in the galaxy." "Yes," Ji-Won said calmly, "and we need to act exactly as they expect us to act." Meanwhile, on the Empire's command ship high above Earth, Admiral Vexitar studied the reports coming in from his intelligence officers. The humans were doing exactly what he expected. Their small fleet was running panicked training exercises. Their communications were full of fear and desperation. "Admiral," one of his officers reported, We've intercepted more human military transmissions. They're discussing evacuation plans for their major cities. Some of their leaders are talking about surrender already. Vexitar laughed. Cowards. I thought this might take several days, but it seems we'll have this world conquered in hours once we begin the attack. The Empire had conquered 47 other species in the past century. All of them had fought desperately and lost. The humans were proving to be even weaker than expected. Their ships were slow, their weapons were primitive, and their military seemed disorganized. Sir, another officer said, should we move to the next phase early? Why wait the full 72 hours? No, Vexitar replied. Let them suffer in fear for the full time. It amuses me to watch them scramble around like insects before we step on them. Back on Earth, Jiwan called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. 20 men and women gathered in the secure conference room deep underground. These were Earth's top military leaders, scientists, and government officials. The Empire has given us 3 days, Jiwan announced. I want everyone to act exactly as they expect. Show fear in public. Make your ships look desperate. Let their spies intercept our secret plans. General Tai-Hyun Cho, the head of Earth's ground forces, looked confused. Sir, with respect, shouldn't we be making real plans? Their ships could destroy every city on Earth in minutes. Our real plans were made long ago, Jiwan said quietly. Trust the process, General. Everything depends on the Empire believing we are as weak as we appear. Dr. Somin Jung, Earth's chief intelligence officer, understood first. You want them overconfident. Exactly, Jiwan nodded. An overconfident enemy makes mistakes. Let them think victory is certain. Over the next 24 hours, the Empire's spies intercepted dozens of human communications. They saw Earth's leaders arguing about whether to fight or surrender. They watched human ships struggle through basic training exercises. They observed cities preparing evacuation plans that would never work. Everything confirmed what Vexitar already believed. Humans were a weak, frightened species with no real military capability. Their technology was primitive. Their tactics were obvious, and their leaders seemed more interested in saving themselves than fighting. Admiral, his intelligence chief reported, we've located all of their major military installations. Their entire fleet is gathered in orbit around Earth. They have no hidden bases, no secret weapons, no backup plans. When we attack, we'll destroy their entire military in the first hour. Perfect, Vexitar said. Begin preparations for the final assault. Once the 72 hours are up, we'll show these humans what real power looks like. But deep beneath, Earth's oceans, in places the Empire's sensors could never reach, other preparations were underway. In massive underwater cities that had been hidden for 3 centuries, millions of people went about their daily work. They built ships, trained crews, and waited for orders. Admiral Jisoo Han stood in the command center of the Pacific Deep Zone, 7 miles beneath the ocean's surface. She was a tall woman with steel-gray hair and hard eyes. Around her, hundreds of officers monitored screens showing the Empire's fleet movements. Admiral, one of her officers reported, the Empire is positioning their ships for orbital bombardment. They plan to destroy our surface cities first. Let them, Jisoo replied. The surface cities can be rebuilt. Our real strength lies where they cannot see it. She turned to look at the massive display showing Earth's hidden fleet. Over 1 million ships waited in the deep ocean trenches, each one more advanced than anything the Empire had ever encountered. For 300 years, humanity had been preparing for this moment. How much longer? She asked. 47 hours, Until the ultimatum expires, her tactical officer replied. Jisoo smiled coldly. 47 hours until the Empire learns what happens when you threaten Earth. The second day of the ultimatum began with what looked like chaos across human space. On Mars colony, Governor Hana Song held a press conference where she appeared to barely hold back tears. Her voice shook as she spoke about evacuation plans that everyone knew would fail. We are doing everything we can to protect our people, she said, her hands trembling. But we must face reality. The Empire's technology is far beyond ours. The Empire's spy satellites recorded every word. Across the galaxy, other alien species watched the broadcasts and shook their heads sadly. Another civilization was about to fall to the Dominion Empire's might. Admiral Minho Park stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Soul Dream. It was humanity's most advanced surface ship, according to official records. In reality, it was a carefully crafted piece of theater. The bridge looked impressive, but was actually filled with outdated technology that the Empire could easily detect and understand. Sir, his communications officer reported loudly enough for the Empire's listening devices to hear. We're having trouble with the weapon systems again. The power conduits keep overloading. Minho nodded grimly. How many ships do we have combat? Ready? Maybe 50%, sir, and that's being generous. The report was a lie, but a believable one. The Empire's sensors showed human ships struggling with basic systems. Their weapons powered up slowly, their shields flickered, and their engines seemed barely able to maintain orbit. Captain Hyunwoo Nam commanded one of these struggling ships. The Busan fighter appeared to be falling apart. Its hull showed scorch, marks from training accidents, and its engines produced irregular energy readings. Empire technicians studying the ship concluded it would be destroyed in the first few seconds of any real battle. What they didn't know was that every mark, every malfunction, every apparent weakness was carefully planned. The ship could transform into a deadly war machine in minutes, but only when the time was right. Captain, his engineer Tae-hyun Cho reported, making sure his voice carried the right note of frustration. The main reactor is showing stress fractures again. We really should return to port for repairs. Negative, Hyunwoo replied loudly. Earth Defense Command wants us to maintain patrol. We'll make do with what we have. In space, the Empire's massive fleet continued its intimidation display. Their ships moved in perfect formations, weapons charged and ready. Admiral Vextar wanted every human to see their overwhelming power and lose hope. Look at them, Vextar told his officers as they watched human ships fumble through basic maneuvers. They can barely fly in a straight line. This will be the easiest conquest in Empire history. His intelligence chief, Commander Zechtel, had spent years studying human military capabilities. Admiral, our analysis confirms what we suspected. Humans are a young species with primitive technology. They've never faced a real military threat before. What about their ground forces? Vextar asked. Equally pathetic. Small armies with outdated weapons. Their largest military base has fewer than 10,000 soldiers. Most of their population lives in undefended cities. This information was also carefully fed to the Empire by human intelligence. Dr. Somin Jung had spent months ensuring that Empire spies saw exactly what she wanted them to see. Every piece of stolen data supported the same conclusion. Humanity was weak and unprepared. On Earth's surface, General Tae-hyun Cho commanded what appeared to be humanity's entire ground defense force, 10,000 soldiers with basic weapons and armor. They conducted training exercises that the Empire's satellites could easily observe. General, one of his officers said during a filmed briefing. Our anti-aircraft weapons can't penetrate their ship armor. Our best missiles would barely scratch their hulls. I know, Tae-hyun replied, looking defeated. We'll do what we can, but... He shook his head, letting the Empire spies fill in the blanks. The reality was very different. The 10,000 surface. Soldiers were real, but they were actors, volunteers who had trained for this specific deception. Earth's real ground forces had been moved underground decades ago, along with weapons that could crack continents. In the underwater city of New Seoul, 7 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean, the real preparation continued. Engineer Junho Baek supervised the final checks on humanity's secret weapon systems. These weren't the primitive missiles and lasers the Empire expected. They were weapons based on principles the Empire had never encountered. Admiral Han, he reported through secure channels, all weapon systems are ready. The Empire's shields won't protect them from what we have. Admiral Jisoo Han studied the tactical displays in her deep ocean command center. The Empire's 50,000 ships were arranged in attack formation above Earth. Their pattern was exactly what human strategists had predicted 300 years ago. They're making the same mistakes every conqueror makes, she said to her staff. They see only what they expect to see. Her tactical officer, Commander Narration, pulled up detailed scans of the Empire fleet. Admiral, they've positioned their command ships in the center of their formation, protected by their strongest vessels. Classic Empire doctrine. Which makes them perfect targets once we rise, Jisoo replied. Continue monitoring. Let me know the moment they begin their final attack preparations. On the surface, the deception continued flawlessly. Human news broadcasts showed panicked civilians, overwhelmed military leaders, and cities preparing for the worst. Everything looked exactly as the Empire expected. President Ji-won Kim held another press conference, this one broadcast across the galaxy. He looked like a defeated leader accepting the inevitable. Citizens of Earth and all human colonies, he said slowly. We have consulted with our military leaders and scientists. The harsh reality is that we cannot match the Empire's power. We are considering their terms. The words tasted bitter in his mouth, but they were necessary. Across the galaxy, other alien species that had been conquered by the Empire nodded sadly. They remembered saying similar words before their own defeats. What none of them knew was that Ji-won Kim was not just Earth's president. He was also the supreme admiral of humanity's real fleet, a position that had been kept secret for 3 centuries. The mild-mannered diplomat was actually one of the most experienced military commanders in galactic history. Sir, his aide Yuna Lee whispered after the cameras stopped. How much longer can we maintain this act? Less than 36 hours, Ji-won replied quietly. Then the Empire will learn what happens when they threaten Earth. In space, Admiral Vextar watched the human president's speech with satisfaction. The conquest would be even easier than expected. The humans were already broken in spirit. Prepare the bombardment fleet, he ordered. Begin targeting their major cities. When the ultimatum expires, I want every human military installation destroyed in the first 10 minutes. Yes, Admiral, his officers replied. They began selecting targets: New York, London, Tokyo, Seoul. These cities would burn first, as examples to the rest of humanity. Admiral, his communications officer reported, we're receiving surrender offers from several human colonies. They want to negotiate terms. Ignore them, Vextar said coldly. Unconditional surrender or death. Those are the only options. But deep beneath Earth's oceans, in the hidden cities that had taken 3 centuries to build, different preparations were underway. Million-ship fleets waited in silence, their crews ready for the signal to rise. Advanced weapons powered up in the deep trenches, targeting systems locked on to the Empire ships above. Admiral Jisoo Han stood before a holographic display showing the entire Pacific Deep Zone. Hundreds of cities stretched across the ocean floor, connected by massive tunnels. Each city could build and maintain thousands of warships. The scale was beyond anything the Empire had ever imagined. "All stations report ready," Commander Narration announced. "The fleet awaits your orders." "Not yet," Jisoo replied. "Let them start their attack. Let them commit fully. Then we show them the true power of Earth." Above them, the Empire's fleet prepared for what they believed would be an easy victory. They had no idea that they were about to face the most powerful military force in galactic history. The human facade was almost complete. Soon, the real war would begin. 300 years ago, Dr. Yunji Kang made a discovery that changed the course of human history. She was working late in her laboratory at Seoul National University, studying deep ocean samples, when her computer detected something impossible. In the data. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself, running the analysis again. The mineral samples from the Mariana Trench contained traces of exotic metals that shouldn't exist naturally on Earth. More troubling, they showed signs of artificial processing. Yunji called her research partner, Dr. Minsu Ryu, to confirm her findings. Together, they spent 3 sleepless days analyzing every detail. The conclusion was terrifying. Someone else had been mining Earth's deep ocean trenches thousands of years ago. "Aliens," Minsu said quietly. "They were here before humans even discovered fire. And they might come back," Yunji replied. "We need to tell the government." The world leaders of 2089 listened to Dr. Kang's presentation with growing alarm. She showed them evidence of alien technology, mining operations, and what appeared to be observation posts hidden in Earth's deepest waters. "How long ago?" asked the president of the Global Council. "The dating is uncertain," Yunji admitted. "But at least 5,000 years, maybe longer. They strip-mined several underwater mountain ranges and then left." "Why did they leave?" another leader asked. "We don't know. But the fact that they could mine our oceans without us knowing suggests their technology is far beyond ours. If they return, we wouldn't stand a chance with current human capabilities." That meeting led to the most secret project in human history, Deep Shield. Dr. Yunji Kang was put in charge of a plan that seemed impossible. Build a hidden civilization beneath Earth's oceans, develop advanced technology in secret, and prepare for the day when hostile aliens might return. "The oceans cover 70% of our planet," Yunji explained to the project team. "At depths below 2 miles, we're invisible to most forms of detection. We can build cities, factories, shipyards, all hidden from any surface observation." The first underwater city, New Busan, took 15 years to complete. It was built in a deep trench off the Korean coast, 7 miles below the surface. The pressure was crushing, the darkness absolute. But human engineering found a way. Dr. Chang-Min Kim, the project's chief engineer, designed revolutionary construction methods. "We hollow out underwater mountains," he explained. "Use the existing rock formations as protection. Build inside the Earth itself." The early years were dangerous. Many workers died in construction accidents, pressure failures, and equipment malfunctions. But slowly, impossibly, the underwater cities grew. New Busan was followed by New Tokyo, then New London, then dozens more. Dr. Yunji Kang lived to see the first 5 cities completed before she died at age 93. Her final words were, "Keep building, they will come." Her student, Dr. Wanbin Jiang, took over the project. He expanded the scope beyond anything Yunji had imagined. Not just cities, but entire underwater nations. Manufacturing centers that could build spaceships. Training facilities for crews who would never see sunlight. "We need to think bigger," Wanbin told the Deep Shield Council in 2156. "When the aliens return, they'll expect to find the same primitive humans they observed before. Instead, they'll find the most advanced military force in this part of the galaxy." The project faced enormous challenges. How do you hide the heat signatures of massive underground cities? How do you prevent water pressure from crushing your buildings? How do you train space pilots who live on the ocean floor? Human scientists solved each problem through sheer determination. They developed pressure-resistant materials stronger than diamond. They created geothermal power systems that used ocean floor volcanic vents. They built zero-gravity training facilities in massive underwater chambers. By 2200, the deep cities housed over 50 million people. Most were descendants of the original construction workers born and raised underwater. They had never seen the sky, but they could pilot spacecraft better than any surface human. Dr. Suman Park, Wanbin's successor, focused on military technology. "Surface humans develop weapons to fight each other," she observed. "We must develop weapons to fight species with technology centuries ahead of ours." The deep cities became laboratories for revolutionary military science. Human engineers studied the alien mining equipment found in the trenches, reverse engineering principles that surface science couldn't understand. They developed weapons that bent space-time, armor that could absorb energy attacks, and engines that worked equally well underwater and in space. The most important breakthrough came in 2234, when Dr. Jin-Yun Oh discovered how to modify spacecraft for deep ocean operation. "If we can make ships that work underwater," he reasoned, "they'll be invisible to orbital sensors. We can hide our entire fleet on the ocean floor." This led to the development of humanity's secret weapon, amphibious warships. These vessels could operate at crushing depths, then rise to the surface and launch into space. They looked like sea creatures when submerged, but transformed into deadly space fighters when needed. By 2300, the deep cities had become a hidden civilization. Over 200 million people lived in underwater nations that surface humanity didn't know existed. They had their own culture, their own government, and their own military force. Admiral Kyungmin Lee, the first commander of the Deep Fleet, established the doctrine that would guide humanity's underwater military for generations. "We are not just Earth's hidden defenders. We are humanity's secret strength. When the aliens come, they will face not one world, but 1,000 hidden worlds beneath the waves." The Deep Fleet grew slowly but steadily. Each city built its own shipyards, its own training centers, its own specialized forces. By 2350, humanity had over 800,000 hidden warships, more than most galactic empires possessed. But the project leaders knew this wasn't enough. Dr. Yoon-Ho Choi, who directed Deep Shield in the 2350s, pushed for even greater expansion. "The aliens who were here before might not be the only threat," he warned. "We need to prepare for any hostile species that might find Earth." Under his leadership, the deep cities perfected their most important ability: invisibility. The underwater cities generated no heat signatures that orbital sensors could detect. Their electromagnetic emissions were absorbed by the ocean floor. Their communications used quantum channels that couldn't be intercepted. To the surface world, the deep cities simply didn't exist. This secrecy was maintained through careful planning. The people who worked on Deep Shield were recruited from those who already lived isolated lives. Deep-sea researchers, submarine crews, remote miners. Their families were told they had died in accidents. Official records were altered to hide their true fate. Meanwhile, surface humanity continued developing normally, unaware that their planet housed the largest military complex in galactic history. Surface governments received reports about underwater research, but nothing that suggested the true scope of the project. By 2387, when Admiral Vextar arrived with his Empire fleet, the preparation was complete. Director Dong-Yun Lim, the current head of Deep Shield, oversaw a hidden civilization of over 500 million people. They lived in more than 1,000 underwater cities, connected by tunnel networks that spanned the globe. The Deep Fleet now consisted of 1.2 million warships, each one more advanced than anything the Galactic Dominion Empire had ever built. For 3 centuries, humanity's best minds had focused on a single goal: be ready when the aliens came. Dr. Kang would be proud, Dong-Hyun said to Admiral Jisoo Han as they watched Empire ships take position above Earth. 300 years of preparation have led to this moment. The Empire thinks they're conquering primitive humans, Admiral Han replied. They have no idea they're about to face the most advanced military force in this galaxy. In her command center 7 miles beneath the Pacific, surrounded by cities that could house populations larger than entire planets, Admiral Han prepared to reveal humanity's greatest secret. The Empire's ultimatum had less than 24 hours remaining. Soon the galaxy would learn what happened when humanity had 3 centuries to prepare for war. 7 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean, the greatest military complex in galactic history hummed with quiet activity. The city of New Seoul stretched for 50 miles along the ocean floor, its towers reaching up through underwater canyons toward the surface far above. Millions of lights glowed in the eternal darkness, creating an underwater constellation that no surface dweller had ever seen. Admiral Jisoo Han walked through the central command center, her footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. Around her, thousands of officers monitored screens showing everything from ocean currents to distant star systems. The technology here was 300 years more advanced than anything on Earth's surface. Admiral, Commander Nari Yoon reported, all deep cities are reporting ready status. The Empire fleet has begun final attack preparations. Jisoo nodded and approached the main tactical display. It showed a 3-dimensional map of Earth's oceans, with every hidden city marked in blue light. The Pacific held the largest concentration, 200 cities housing the primary shipyards. The Atlantic contained another 150 cities, specialized in weapons development. Even the Arctic and Antarctic oceans held secret installations. "Show me the fleet status," Jisoo commanded. The display changed, revealing the true scope of humanity's hidden power. In deep ocean trenches around the world, 1.2 million spacecraft waited in perfect silence. They rested in massive underwater hangars, carved from the ocean floor itself. Each ship was sleek and deadly, designed to function equally well underwater and in space. Captain Gunwoo Seo commanded the fleet's flagship, Poseidon's Wrath. It was a massive vessel, 3 miles long and armed with weapons that could crack planets. Right now it rested in the deepest part of the Mariana Trench, surrounded by 10,000 similar warships. "Captain Seo," Admiral Han's voice came through the quantum communicator. "Prepare your battle group for ascent. We rise in 18 hours. Understood, Admiral, Gunwoo replied. Around him, his crew began the complex process of preparing for battle. These people had trained their entire lives for this moment. Most had never seen sunlight, but they could pilot spacecraft through asteroid fields blindfolded. In the Atlantic Deep Zone, Commodore Woo Jin Lee commanded a different type of force. His ships were smaller and faster, designed for hit-and-run attacks. They could accelerate from the ocean floor to orbital velocity in minutes, strike their targets, and disappear back into the depths before enemies could respond. Sir, his tactical officer reported, Empire sensors are completely focused on the surface fleet. They have no idea we exist. Perfect, Wu Jin said. Maintain stealth protocols. When we rise, I want to be in their formation before they know we're there. The Empire's intelligence had been studying Earth for months, but their sensors couldn't penetrate more than a few hundred feet into the ocean. The crushing pressure and electromagnetic interference from the water made deep scanning impossible. They saw Earth as a mostly ocean world with small land masses and a primitive spacefaring civilization. They were completely wrong. Engineering Commodore Junho Baek supervised the final preparations in the Pacific manufacturing zones. These underwater factories had been building warships for 2 centuries using resources mined from the ocean floor. The scale of production was staggering. At peak capacity, the deep cities could build 1,000 new ships per day. Sir, one of his engineers reported, the new weapon systems are ready for deployment. The Empire has never encountered anything like them. Junho smiled grimly. Surface humanity had developed primitive lasers and missiles. The deep cities had created weapons that manipulated space-time itself. Empire shields, designed to stop conventional energy weapons, would be useless against technology that could fold space around a target. In the Arctic Deep Zone, Captain Yejin Park commanded the stealth specialists. Her ships were designed to be completely invisible, using technology derived from studying alien artifacts found on the ocean floor. They could move through space without generating any detectable signatures. Captain, her science officer reported, we've identified the Empire's command structure. Their admiral is aboard the largest ship in the center of their formation. Excellent, Yejin replied. Prepare the Shadow Strike packages. When the battle begins, their command ship will be our first target. The technology gap was enormous. While the Empire used conventional fusion reactors, human deep ships powered themselves with controlled black hole generators. Empire weapons fired energy beams and physical projectiles. Human weapons could create gravity wells, tear holes in space, and manipulate time itself around their targets. But the greatest advantage was numbers. The Empire had brought 50,000 ships, believing this would be massive overkill against primitive humans. They faced 1.2 million vessels that had been specifically designed to fight technologically superior enemies. Admiral, reported the communications center, we're receiving final status reports from all deep zones. Pacific Zone, 400,000 ships ready. Atlantic Zone, 300,000 ships ready. Arctic Zone, 200,000 ships ready. Indian Ocean Zone, 200,000 ships ready. Antarctic Zone, 100,000 ships ready. Admiral Hahn studied the numbers. Each ship represented decades of construction, using the most advanced technology humanity could develop. The crews had trained for this battle their entire lives. Everything was ready. What's the status of our surface masquerade? She asked, continuing. Perfectly, Commander Nari replied. Admiral Park's surface fleet is maintaining the illusion of weakness. Empire sensors show our official ships struggling with basic systems and low morale. This deception was crucial. The Empire needed to believe they faced only the weak surface fleet until the moment the deep ships revealed themselves. Every Empire sensor was focused on the pathetic 200 ships in orbit, completely missing the million-ship armada hidden beneath the waves. "Admiral," the tactical officer announced, "Empire fleet is moving into final attack position. They're preparing to begin orbital bombardment of Earth's surface cities." "Let them," Admiral Han said coldly. "The surface cities have been evacuated to deep shelters. When they attack empty buildings, they'll think they're winning. That's when we rise." The deep cities had spent decades preparing for this moment. Underground tunnels connected every major surface city to evacuation shelters far below. When the Empire attacked, they would destroy empty shells, while humanity's real population remained safe in the depths. Captain Min Jae Song commanded a specialized assault group in the Pacific. His ships were equipped with boarding equipment, designed to capture Empire vessels intact. "Sir," his boarding master reported, "the Empire uses a standard docking system. We can breach their ships in seconds." "Good," Min Jae replied. "Their technology might be useful for study. Try to capture their command staff alive if possible." The deep ships had another advantage the Empire couldn't predict. They were designed to work together as a single unit. 3 centuries of development had created the most coordinated military force in galactic history. Every ship could communicate instantly with every other ship through quantum entanglement networks. "Admiral," reported the Strategic Planning Center, "we've completed analysis of Empire tactical doctrine. They favor direct confrontation with overwhelming firepower. They don't expect stealth attacks or unconventional tactics." "Typical," Admiral Han observed. "Every empire makes the same mistake. They become so powerful that they forget how to fight clever enemies. The Empire had conquered 47 other species using the same basic strategy. Arrive with superior numbers and technology. Demand surrender, then crush any resistance with brute force. It had worked every time because they had always faced civilizations weaker than themselves. Earth would be different." "Admiral," the Countdown Center announced, 12 hours until ultimatum expiration. Empire fleet is beginning to power weapons. For surface bombardment, Admiral Han activated the fleet-wide communication system. Her voice reached every ship, every crew member, every person in the deep cities. "Attention all personnel. 3 centuries ago, our ancestors discovered that hostile aliens had visited our world. They made a choice to prepare for the return of those aliens or others like them. Today, that preparation is tested." She paused, looking at the tactical display showing the Empire's massive fleet above and humanity's hidden armada below. "In 12 hours, we rise. The Empire expects to face primitive humans with outdated technology. Instead, they will face the most advanced military force this galaxy has ever seen. They came here to conquer us. They will learn what it means to threaten Earth." Across the ocean floor, 1.2 million ships began their final preparations for ascent. Weapons powered up in the darkness. Crews took their battle stations. The largest military force in human history prepared to reveal itself to a galaxy that had no idea of humanity's true strength. The Empire's ultimatum had 12 hours remaining. Then the real war would begin. The Empire's countdown reached 0 at exactly 0800 hours, 72 hours after Admiral Vextar had delivered his ultimatum. On his command ship high above Earth, the alien admiral watched his final communication to humanity with cold satisfaction. "Your time is up, primitive humans," Vextar announced to the galaxy. "You have chosen death over surrender. So be it." Across human space, People watched the broadcast with apparent terror. On Earth's surface cities, evacuation sirens wailed as civilians fled to underground shelters. The Empire's sensors detected massive population movement, confirming what they expected: panic and chaos. "Begin the bombardment," Vexitar ordered. "Target their major cities first. I want every human to see what happens when they defy the Empire." Savi. Empire's massive ships charged their weapons. Energy readings spiked across their fleet as they prepared to reduce Earth's surface to smoking ruins. Their targeting systems locked onto New York, London, Tokyo, and dozens of other major cities. But before the first shot was fired, every communication channel in the galaxy suddenly activated. A new transmission began, broadcast from Earth with enough power to reach every civilized world. The signal was impossibly strong, far beyond what Empire intelligence believed human technology could produce. President Ji-won Kim appeared on every screen, but he looked very different from the defeated leader who had spoken 3 days ago. Gone was the frightened diplomat. In his place stood a man in military uniform, his eyes hard as steel. "Admiral Vexitar," Ji-won said, his voice carrying across space to every ship in the Empire fleet. "You have made a serious mistake." On the Empire command ship, officers looked at each other in confusion. How were the humans generating such a powerful signal? Their technology wasn't supposed to be capable of galaxy-wide transmission. "You came to our world expecting to find primitive beings," Ji-won continued. "You assumed we were weak because we appeared weak. You believed your intelligence reports because we wanted you to believe them." Admiral Vexitar felt the first cold touch of doubt. Something was wrong. The human president's tone was completely different. His words carried an authority that hadn't been there before. "Let me introduce myself properly," Ji-won said. "I am not just the president of Earth's surface nations. I am Supreme Admiral Ji-won Kim, commanding officer of humanity's combined fleet. For 3 centuries we have been preparing for this day." The transmission cut to images that made the Empire fleet officers gasp in shock. Deep beneath Earth's oceans, massive cities glowed with millions of lights. Shipyards stretched for hundreds of miles, filled with vessels that dwarfed the Empire's largest ships. Manufacturing centers produced weapons and equipment on a scale that seemed impossible. "This is what you failed to see," Ji-won explained as the images continued. "While you were studying our surface cities and weak orbital fleet, the real humanity was hidden 7 miles beneath our oceans. We have 1.2 million warships, Admiral, each one more advanced than your finest vessel." Admiral Vexitar stared at the display screens in disbelief. The images showed technology that looked centuries ahead of anything in the Empire's arsenal. Ships that seemed to bend space around themselves, weapons that generated gravity fields, cities that housed populations larger than most planets. "Impossible," he whispered. "Our sensors would have detected such massive installations." "Your sensors can barely penetrate a few hundred feet into our oceans," Ji-won replied, as if he had heard the alien's words. "The pressure and electromagnetic interference make deep scanning impossible. We've been invisible to your technology since the day you arrived." Commander Sung-min Oh, Director of Humanity's Deep Communications Network, smiled as he watched the Empire fleet's panic from his control center 5 miles underwater. Every word of Ji-won's speech was carefully calculated to achieve maximum psychological impact. "Sir," one of his officers reported, "Empire ships are trying to jam our transmission. Their efforts are having no effect." "Of course not," Sung-min replied. They're using conventional radio frequencies. We're broadcasting through quantum entanglement networks they don't even know exist. The transmission continued, showing more impossible sights. Human ships rising from ocean trenches, their hulls gleaming with energy shields. Underwater training facilities where pilots practiced in zero-gravity chambers. Weapons testing ranges where new technologies tore holes in space itself. You made the classic mistake of every conqueror, Jiwan said, his image now showing him standing in what was clearly a military command center. You assumed that what you could see was all that existed. You never imagined that an entire civilization could be hidden from your view. Captain Haeun Kim stood on the bridge of the first deep ship to reach the ocean's surface. The tsunami's edge had risen from the Mariana Trench in complete silence, its stealth systems making it invisible to Empire sensors. Around her, other ships were beginning their ascent from every ocean on Earth. "Captain," her tactical officer reported, "we have visual confirmation of the Empire fleet. They're exactly where Admiral Han predicted they would be." "Perfect," Haeun replied. "Maintain stealth until the signal is given. Let them panic first." In space above Earth, the Empire fleet was indeed panicking. Their sensors were beginning to detect massive underwater movement, but they couldn't understand what they were seeing. Water temperatures were rising in dozens of locations. Seismic activity suggested huge objects were moving through the ocean depths. "Admiral," the Empire's sensor officer reported with a shaking voice, "we're detecting massive thermal signatures rising from Earth's oceans. The readings are unprecedented." "How many contacts?" Vextar demanded. "Thousands, sir. Maybe tens of thousands. The patterns are unlike anything in our databases." Admiral Vextar felt fear creeping into his thoughts for the first time in his military career. The human transmission was still broadcasting, now showing images of Empire ships being analyzed by human scientists. Somehow, they had detailed intelligence on every aspect of Empire technology. "We've been studying your ships for centuries," Jiwan explained. "Not just your current fleet, but every Empire vessel that has ever traveled through this region of space. We've analyzed your tactics, your weapons, your weaknesses. We know your technology better than you do." This was true. Human deep space monitoring stations, hidden throughout the solar system, had been tracking and studying Empire ships for over 200 years. Every technical specification, every tactical doctrine, every strategic weakness had been cataloged and analyzed. "You brought 50,000 ships to conquer our world," Jiwan continued. "An impressive force by galactic standards. Unfortunately for you, you're outnumbered 24-1. The mathematics hit the Empire fleet like a physical blow. 1.2 million ships versus 50,000. The humans weren't just claiming technological superiority, they had an overwhelming numerical advantage as well." "Begin the rise," Admiral Jisoo. Han ordered from her command center in the Pacific Deep Zone. Across Earth's oceans, the sea itself began to change. Water that had been calm for millennia suddenly erupted in massive columns as ships larger than cities rose from the depths. The first vessels to break the surface were scout ships, sleek and fast. They emerged in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with energy shields that made the water around them glow. Behind them came the main battle groups. Ships 3 miles long rose like metal mountains breaking through the ocean surface. Their hulls were covered in weapons that the Empire had never seen before. Energy readings spiked beyond anything in the Empire's experience as these vessels powered up their systems. "Contacts confirmed," the Empire sensor officer reported, his voice high with terror. "Thousands of ships rising from the oceans. Energy signatures are off our scales. "Admiral, these readings are impossible." Admiral Vextar watched his tactical display with growing horror. Red dots were appearing by the thousands as human ships revealed themselves. Each dot represented a vessel that hadn't existed moments before, according to his sensors. The ocean was literally giving birth to the largest fleet he had ever seen. "All ships," he commanded. "Prepare for immediate attack. Target the rising vessels before they can fully deploy." But it was already too late. The human ships were rising too fast and in too many locations. By the time the Empire weapons locked onto targets, there were 10 times as many ships as there had been seconds before. "Admiral Vextar," Jiwan's voice continued from the transmission, now carrying a note of cold amusement. "You're probably ordering your ships to attack right now. I wouldn't recommend it. Our weapons are charged and targeted. Yours are about to learn what happens when you threaten Earth." Captain Hyeon Kim received the signal she had been waiting for. "All stealth ships," she transmitted, "drop camouflage and reveal positions." Suddenly, the Empire found themselves surrounded. Human ships that had been invisible moments before materialized throughout their formation. The humans hadn't just been rising from the oceans. They had been infiltrating the Empire fleet itself. "This ends one of two ways," Jiwon announced as his transmission reached its climax. "You withdraw immediately and never return to human space, or you face the consequences of your aggression. Choose quickly." The ocean surface around Earth exploded into activity as humanity's hidden fleet completed its rise. Water cascaded from massive hulls as ships the size of mountains broke through the waves. The Pacific Ocean alone disgorged 300,000 vessels, their hulls gleaming with energy shields that turned the seawater into glowing mist. Admiral Jisoo Han stood in the command center of her flagship as it breached the surface for the first time in 3 centuries. The Poseidon's wrath was 3 miles long and bristled with weapons that could reshape reality itself. Around her, the Pacific Battle Group rose in perfect formation, creating a wall of metal and energy that stretched from horizon to horizon. "Admiral," Commander Nari Yoon reported, "all Pacific ships have reached combat depth. We are ready to engage." "Weapon status?" Jisoo asked calmly. "All quantum torpedo banks loaded. Gravity well generators at full power. Space-time manipulation arrays are online and targeted." These weren't the primitive weapons the Empire expected. Human engineers had spent 3 centuries developing technology specifically designed to fight enemies with superior conventional arms. The Empire's shields and armor would be useless against weapons that could fold space around a target or create artificial black holes. In the Atlantic, Commodore Woo Jin Lee commanded a different type of force. His ships were smaller but faster, designed for rapid strike operations. They emerged from the ocean in a coordinated burst, accelerating from underwater to orbital velocity in seconds. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we have clear shots at the Empire's outer formation. Their ships are still in shock formation. They haven't adapted to our presence yet." "Hold position," Woo Jin ordered. "Let them make the first aggressive move. Admiral Han wants them to start this fight." The Empire fleet found itself in an impossible situation. They had arranged themselves for orbital bombardment of a defenseless planet. Instead, they were surrounded by the most powerful military force in galactic history. Their formation was completely wrong for the battle they now faced. Admiral Vextar stared at his tactical display in growing horror. Red dots continued to appear as more human ships revealed themselves. His fleet was outnumbered by more than 20 to 1, and the enemy ships were demonstrating technology beyond his understanding. "All ships," he commanded, Emergency battle. Formation. Concentrate fire on the largest human vessels. Sir, his tactical officer replied with a shaking voice. Our targeting computers can't lock onto most of their ships. Their energy signatures are impossible. This was another advantage. The humans hadn't revealed. Their ships used stealth technology based on manipulating space-time itself. To Empire sensors, the human vessels appeared to exist in multiple locations at once, making accurate targeting nearly impossible. Captain Yejin Park commanded the Arctic Stealth Squadron, 200,000 ships that specialized in invisible warfare. Her vessels had been hidden inside the Empire formation for hours, completely undetected. Now they revealed themselves simultaneously, appearing like ghosts throughout the enemy fleet. Arctic Squadron, she announced. Execute Phantom Strike. Target their command ships first. Her ships opened fire with weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Beams of twisted space-time reached out from the stealth vessels, striking Empire ships that thought they were safely protected in the center of their formation. The Empire's shields, designed to stop energy weapons and physical projectiles, offered no protection against attacks that folded space around the target. "Contact! Contact!" the Empire sensor officer screamed. "Enemy ships are materializing inside our formation. How is this possible?" "Return fire!" Vextar ordered desperately. "All ships, open fire immediately!" The Empire fleet opened fire with everything they had. Thousands of energy beams and missile salvos streaked toward the human ships. For a moment, the space around Earth lit up like a star as the Empire unleashed the full power of their weapons. The human response was devastating. Admiral Jisoo Han activated her fleet's defensive systems. "Deploy quantum barriers," she ordered, calmly. Around each human ship, space itself seemed to twist and bend. The Empire's attacks struck barriers made of pure gravitational force. Energy beams were deflected harmlessly into empty space. Missiles found themselves trapped in gravity, wells that crushed them to atoms before they could explode. "Impossible," Vextar whispered as he watched his fleet's most powerful weapons have absolutely no effect on the human ships. "Sir," his science officer reported, "their defensive technology is unlike anything in our databases. They're manipulating space-time itself to create barriers. Our weapons can't penetrate because the attacks never actually reach their hulls." The human counterattack began immediately. Ships across the Pacific Battle Group opened fire with weapons the Empire had never imagined. Gravity cannons created artificial black holes that consumed Empire vessels whole. Quantum torpedoes phased through shields and armor to explode inside enemy ships. Space-time disruptors caused Empire vessels to age centuries in seconds, crumbling to dust. Captain Gunwoo Seo, commanding the human flagship, watched the Empire's largest command ship with cold satisfaction. "Target the vessel at coordinates 127.4 by 85.7, he ordered. "Full quantum torpedo spread." "Torpedoes away," his weapons officer replied. The torpedoes seemed to disappear as they left the human ship, phasing into a parallel dimension before rematerializing inside the Empire command vessel. The explosions tore the massive ship apart from within, its shields and armor providing no protection against weapons that struck from inside. Admiral Vexitar felt his command ship shudder as explosions ripped through the lower decks. "Damage report!" he shouted. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 15, his engineer reported. "Sir, the weapons appeared inside our ship. Our shields never detected them." "Retreat," Vextar ordered in desperation. "All ships, Emergency jump! To hyperspace! But the humans had anticipated this move. Captain Minsu Ryu commanded a specialized group of ships equipped with space-time anchors. These weapons could prevent faster-than-light travel in a massive area around Earth. "Deploy interdiction field," Minsu ordered. "No Empire ship leaves this system." Space around Earth suddenly became thick and heavy as the humans activated technology that made hyperspace jumps impossible. Empire ships trying to flee found their engines simply wouldn't engage. They were trapped in a battle they couldn't win and couldn't escape. "Sir," the Empire navigation officer reported with panic in his voice, "hyperspace engines are not responding. Something is preventing FTL travel." The battle was turning into a massacre. Human ships moved through the Empire formation like hunters among prey. Their weapons struck with impossible precision, while Empire return fire was completely ineffective. Ship after ship in the Empire fleet exploded or simply vanished as human technology demonstrated its overwhelming superiority. Commodore Woojin Lee decided it was time for his Atlantic Strike Force to join the battle. "All ships," he commanded, "attack Pattern Alpha. Target their heavy cruisers." His ships accelerated to impossible speeds, moving faster than Empire sensors could track. They struck the Empire's second line of defense like a hurricane, their weapons tearing through armor and shields as if they didn't exist. "Multiple contacts moving at impossible velocity," the Empire sensor officer reported. "They're exceeding our theoretical maximum ship speed by a factor of 10. The Empire fleet was being destroyed piece by piece. Their most advanced weapons couldn't penetrate human defenses. Their fastest ships couldn't escape human pursuit. Their strongest armor crumbled under human attacks like paper in a fire. Admiral Vexitar realized he was witnessing the complete destruction of his fleet. In 30 minutes of battle, the humans had destroyed over 10,000 Empire ships while losing none of their own. It wasn't a battle, it was an execution. "Open a channel to the human fleet," he ordered desperately. "Channel open, sir," his communications officer replied. "Human ships," Vextar transmitted. "This is Admiral Vextar of the Galactic Dominion Empire. I request immediate ceasefire negotiations." The response came from Admiral Jisoo Han herself. "Admiral Vextar," her voice was cold as space itself, "you came to our world with threats of destruction. You plan to murder billions of innocent people. Why should we show you mercy when you offered none to us?" "Please," Vextar begged, his pride finally broken. "My ships are defenseless against your weapons. This is not battle. It is slaughter." "Yes," Admiral Han replied without emotion. "It is exactly what you plan to do to us. The difference is that we are strong enough to defend ourselves." Around Earth, the battle continued. Human ships moved through the Empire formation like avenging angels, their weapons speaking in languages of twisted space and controlled time. The Empire's invincible fleet was being systematically destroyed by technology 3 centuries more advanced than their own. "You have one choice, Admiral," Han continued. "Order your remaining ships to surrender immediately or watch them all die. You have 30 seconds to decide." Admiral Vextar looked at his tactical display. Of his original 50,000 ships, less than 30,000 remained. The humans were destroying Y. The surrender of Admiral Vextar's fleet was only the beginning. Within hours of the battle's end, news of the Empire's defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. For the first time in 2 centuries, the Galactic Dominion Empire had been utterly crushed by a force they had believed to be primitive. Fleet Commander Minji Choi stood on the bridge of her pursuit ship as it tracked fleeing Empire vessels throughout the solar system. Her orders were simple. No Empire ship was to leave human space with intelligence about Earth's true capabilities. Contact bearing 127 Mark 85, her tactical officer reported. Empire courier ship attempting to reach the hyperspace limit. Intercept and disable, Minji ordered. Use minimum force. We want prisoners, not wreckage. Her ship accelerated to impossible speeds, covering the distance to the fleeing Empire vessel in seconds. The courier ship's captain probably never saw the attack coming. One moment he was racing toward escape. The next his engines were dead, and his ship was caught in a human tractor beam. This scene played out dozens of times across the solar system as human ships hunted down every Empire vessel that had survived the main battle. The few that had managed to jump to hyperspace before the interdiction field activated found themselves pursued by human ships that somehow moved even faster than they could. Strategic Coordinator Jaehyun Song supervised the systematic capture of Empire technology from his position aboard the research vessel Deep Explorer. His teams had been waiting 3 centuries for this opportunity, the chance to study advanced alien technology firsthand. "Sir," one of his science officers reported, "we've boarded the Empire flagship. Their computer systems are intact. We should be able to download their entire tactical database." "Excellent," Jaehyun replied. "I want complete technical specifications on every Empire ship class, weapon system, and defensive technology. This intelligence will be invaluable for future operations." The reality was becoming clear to Empire survivors. The humans hadn't just defeated them through superior numbers. Human technology was centuries more advanced than anything the Empire possessed. Every Empire innovation was matched by human improvements. That made it obsolete. Admiral Vextar sat in the brig of Admiral Han's flagship, staring at the wall in complete defeat. 3 hours ago, he had commanded the most powerful fleet in Empire history. Now he was a prisoner, his ships destroyed or captured, his reputation ruined forever. "Admiral," a human guard announced. "Admiral Han will see you now." Vextar was escorted to the human ship's main conference room. The chamber was simple but elegant, with a massive viewport showing Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. Admiral Jisoo Han sat at the head of a long table, her expression unreadable. "Sit," she commanded. Vextar took the offered chair, feeling smaller than he had ever felt in his life. The human admiral studied him with cold eyes that seemed to see right through him. "Tell me about the Empire's other fleets," she said without preamble. I cannot betray military secrets," Vextar replied weakly. "Admiral," Han said softly, "your Empire sent you here to commit genocide against my species. You threatened to murder billions of innocent people. Your cooperation is not a request." She activated a holographic display showing the battle that had just ended. Empire ships exploded in silent flashes as human weapons tore them apart. "This was your fleet. 50,000 ships destroyed in 30 minutes. How many more fleets does the Empire have?" Vextar realized he had no choice. "The Empire maintains 12 active fleets," he admitted, "each with approximately the same strength as the force I commanded. 600,000 ships total," Han calculated. "Impressive by galactic standards. Unfortunately for your Empire, we have twice that number, and our technology is far superior." This was the truth that would reshape galactic politics. The Galactic Dominion Empire, the most feared military force in known space, was actually inferior to humanity's hidden fleet. The balance of power had shifted completely. "What do you want?" Vextar asked desperately. "Justice," Han replied simply. "Your Empire has conquered 47 other species. You've enslaved entire civilizations and destroyed any that refused to submit. That ends now. She activated another display showing star maps of Empire territory. These are the locations of species your empire has conquered. We will be visiting each one to inform them that they are now free. The implications hit Vextar like a physical blow. The humans weren't just defending themselves. They were planning to dismantle the entire empire. "You can't attack our core worlds," he protested. "That would mean war with the entire empire." "Admiral," Han said with a cold smile, "we just destroyed your most powerful fleet without losing a single ship. Your empire's threats no longer concern us." While Admiral Han interrogated the defeated Empire commander, human fleets were already moving throughout the solar system to secure their victory. Captain Seungjin Park commanded a boarding party that was systematically capturing Empire vessels and their crews. "Sir," his boarding specialist reported, "we've secured the Empire transport ships. They contain detailed records of conquered species and their current status under Empire rule." "Download everything," Seungjin ordered. "High Command wants complete intelligence on every species the Empire has subjugated. The information they found was horrifying. The Empire maintained slave populations in the billions, forced labor camps on hundreds of worlds, and systematic extermination programs for species that resisted too strongly. The humans' anger at this discovery fueled their determination to bring down the entire Empire structure." President Ji-won Kim addressed the galaxy from Earth's surface, his message broadcast to every civilized world. The mild-mannered diplomat was gone forever, replaced by the Supreme Admiral of humanity's combined fleet. "People of the galaxy," he announced, "today the Galactic Dominion Empire attempted to destroy our world. They failed. Their fleet has been defeated, their ships captured or destroyed, their survivors taken prisoner. The broadcast showed footage of the battle, Empire ships exploding under human weapons, surrender transmissions, and captured Empire officers being led away in restraints. But this is not just about Earth's defense," Ji-won continued. "We have learned that the Empire has enslaved 47 other species across this galaxy. As of today, that oppression ends. Human fleets are moving to liberate every world under Empire control." This declaration sent shockwaves across the galaxy. No one had ever successfully challenged the Empire's dominance. Most species had accepted Empire rule as inevitable, unstoppable. "To the conquered peoples of the galaxy," Ji-won said, looking directly into the camera, "help is coming. To the Empire's leaders, your reign of terror is over. To any other hostile species watching this broadcast, learn from the Empire's mistake. Earth is not defenseless, and humanity will defend itself and its allies with overwhelming force." The message reached every corner of civilized space within hours. Unconquered worlds, enslaved populations looked up at the sky with new hope. In Empire territory, government officials scrambled to understand how their most powerful fleet had been completely destroyed. Admiral Ketra Voss, commander of the Empire's Second Fleet, received the news while patrolling the Rigel sector. Her initial reaction was disbelief, then growing horror as the reports were confirmed. "Admiral," her intelligence officer reported, "we're receiving surrender transmissions from Admiral Vexatar's entire fleet. The humans claim to have captured or destroyed all 50,000 ships." "Impossible," Ketra replied. "Earth's technology is primitive. They have maybe a few hundred ships total." "Ma'am," the officer continued nervously, "the transmissions include tactical recordings of the battle. The humans fielded over 1 million ships, all using technology centuries ahead of our own. Ketra watched the battle recordings with growing dread. Human ships moving at impossible speeds, weapons that bent space-time, defenses that made Empire attacks completely useless. This wasn't just a military defeat. It was proof that humanity was technologically superior to the Empire in every way. Send a message to High Command, she ordered. Recommend immediate peace negotiations with Earth. We cannot defeat this enemy with conventional tactics, but it was already too late for negotiations. Human fleets were emerging from Earth's solar system, their ships moving faster than anything the Empire possessed. Their first target was the slave world of Kepler 442b, where 10 billion conquered aliens worked in Empire mining operations. Captain Youngman Shin commanded the Liberation Fleet heading for Kepler 442b. His force consisted of only 10,000 ships, more than enough to defeat the Empire garrison protecting the slave world. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving distress signals from the planet's surface. The Empire guards are executing prisoners in response to news of our approach. Accelerate to maximum speed," Youngman ordered grimly. "We will not allow more innocents to die for Empire pride." The liberation of the galaxy had begun. Human fleets moved through space like avenging angels, their superior technology making Empire resistance futile. World after world was freed from Empire control as humanity's hidden strength revealed itself. Admiral Vextar, still imprisoned aboard Admiral Han's flagship, watched the reports of Empire defeats across the galaxy. "You're destroying a..." 6 months after the destruction of Admiral Vextar's fleet, the galaxy had been transformed beyond recognition. The Galactic Dominion Empire, which had ruled through fear and superior military force for 2 millennia, no longer existed. In its place, a new order was emerging under the protection of Earth's revealed fleet. President Ji-won Kim stood in the Great Assembly Hall on the former Empire capital world of Dominion Prime. The massive chamber, which had once hosted Empire victory celebrations, now welcomed representatives from 47 freed species. The irony was not lost on anyone present. "Fellow beings of this galaxy," Ji-won addressed the assembly, "6 months ago, most of your worlds lived under the boot of Empire oppression. Today, you are free to determine your own destinies." The assembled delegates represented civilizations that had been enslaved for centuries. The blue-skinned Altarians, who had been forced to mine radioactive materials for Empire ships. The crystalline Zephyrians, whose entire species had been reduced to living computers for Empire calculations. The plant-like Verdans, who had been harvested for biochemical weapons. All of them were free now, liberated by human fleets that moved through space with technology the Empire could never match. The liberation had taken only 4 months, as human ships systematically dismantled every Empire military installation in the galaxy. Ambassador Soyeon Ryu, Earth's new diplomatic chief, had spent those months negotiating with freed species and establishing the framework for galactic cooperation. She stood beside President Kim as he outlined humanity's vision for the future. "Earth does not seek to replace the Empire," Ji-won continued. "We have no desire to rule over other species. Instead, we offer partnership, protection, and the chance to build a galaxy where military might does not determine right." This message had been proven through action. When human fleets liberated Empire-controlled worlds, they immediately withdrew. Once local populations were free to govern themselves. No human administrators were installed, no tribute was demanded, no permanent bases were established. Grand Admiral Jisoo Han commanded the largest peacekeeping force in galactic history from her flagship above Earth. The majority of humanity's 1.2 million ships now patrolled space lanes once controlled by Empire fleets, ensuring that no new tyrants could rise to fill the power vacuum. Admiral, Commander Nari Yoon reported, "We're receiving reports of a slave trader fleet operating in the Vega sector. Local authorities are requesting assistance." "Dispatch Battle Group 7, Admiral Han ordered. "Standard liberation protocol. Capture the slavers, free their prisoners, and turn the criminals over to local justice systems." This had become routine work for human fleets. Small groups of Empire loyalists, criminal organizations, and opportunistic warlords continued to emerge, thinking they could exploit the chaos following the Empire's fall. They learned quickly that humanity's protection of the galaxy was absolute. Captain Dong-Yuk Lee commanded Battle Group 7 as it intercepted the slave traders near Vega. His force of 500 ships was massive overkill for dealing with a few dozen criminal vessels, but Admiral Han believed in sending unmistakable messages. "Unknown ships," Dong-Yuk transmitted to the slave fleet. "You are engaged in illegal trafficking of sentient beings. Surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded." The criminal response was predictable. They opened fire with stolen Empire weapons, hoping to fight their way to freedom. Their weapons had no effect on human ships protected by space-time barriers. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than 5 minutes. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "all hostile vessels disabled. We're detecting approximately 3,000 prisoners aboard their ships." "Begin rescue operations," Dong-Yuk ordered. "Medical teams to the prisoner compartments immediately." This scene played out across the galaxy weekly as human fleets eliminated the last remnants of Empire-style oppression. The message was clear: the galaxy was under new management and slavery would not be tolerated. The transformation went beyond military action. Dr. Min-Ho Kang, director of Earth's Technology Sharing Initiative, worked with freed species to rebuild their devastated civilizations. The Empire had systematically destroyed the technological capabilities of conquered species to prevent rebellion. The Altarians lost their industrial base 2 centuries ago, Dr. Kang explained to his team. "We need to help them rebuild manufacturing capability from the ground up." Human technology, once hidden beneath Earth's oceans, was now being shared freely with species that had suffered under Empire rule. Clean energy systems replaced Empire pollution. Advanced medical technology healed genetic damage caused by Empire experimentation. Communication networks allowed separated populations to reconnect after centuries of forced isolation, but the greatest challenge came from an unexpected source. 3 months after the Empire's fall, Earth's deep space monitoring stations detected new signals from beyond the galactic rim. Unknown ships were approaching the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. Director Yoon-Soo Park ran the early warning network from a hidden facility in Earth's asteroid belt. Her sensors, more advanced than anything the Empire had possessed, tracked the approaching unknown fleet with growing concern. "Admiral Han," she reported, "we have confirmation of 43 vessels approaching from galactic coordinates 847.2 by 156.8. Their technology is unlike anything in our databases." "Empire remnants?" Admiral Han asked. "Negative. These ships are using propulsion systems we've never seen before. Estimated arrival in the Sol system, 72 hours. The galaxy's new guardians faced their first real test: the approaching Fleet belonged to the hegemony of worlds, a militaristic civilization from a distant galaxy that had been monitoring the Empire's territory for expansion opportunities. The Empire's sudden collapse had attracted their attention. Admiral Corvex of the hegemony studied intelligence reports about the Empire's mysterious defeat as his fleet approached the Milky Way. His species had been observing this galaxy for decades, waiting for the right moment to invade. The Empire's fall seemed to provide that opportunity. The reports claim a primitive species called humans destroyed the Empire fleet, his intelligence officer reported. Our analysis suggests this is propaganda. No single species could possess such overwhelming military superiority. Agreed, Admiral Corvex replied. The Empire probably fell to internal rebellion or plague. We will find weak, divided worlds ripe for conquest. He was about to learn how wrong he could be. Admiral Jisoo Han received the threat assessment with calm determination. The approaching hegemony fleet was smaller than Vextar's force had been, but their technology appeared more advanced than the Empire's. This would be humanity's first test against an enemy that might actually pose a challenge. "Prepare Battle Group Alpha," she ordered. 100,000 ships should be sufficient for first contact. "Admiral," Commander Nari asked, "should we reveal our full capabilities immediately?" "No," Admiral Han replied with a slight smile. "Let's see what they're made of first. If they prove reasonable, we can negotiate. If they prove hostile..." She didn't need to finish the sentence. The hegemony fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, their ships arranged in perfect battle formation. Admiral Corvex immediately began scanning for the military forces that had supposedly destroyed the Empire. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "we're detecting a small human fleet approaching our position. Approximately 100 vessels. Primitive design." Admiral Corvex laughed. 100 ships? The Empire fell to this pathetic force? Begin the conquest immediately. Target their largest vessel. But as the hegemony ships charged their weapons, something impossible happened. The human fleet simply vanished from their sensors as if it had never existed. One moment there were 100 ships approaching. The next, there was empty space. "Where did they go?" Corvex demanded. "Unknown, sir. All contacts lost. Wait! New contacts appearing throughout our formation." The human ships had used their mastery of space-time manipulation to phase shift around the hegemony fleet, appearing inside their defensive formation without warning. It was the same tactic that had devastated the Empire, refined by months of experience. "Hegemony fleet," Admiral Han's voice transmitted directly to Corvex's bridge. "You have entered human-protected space with weapons charged and hostile intent. You have one opportunity to withdraw peacefully." "Never!" Corvex replied. "The hegemony bows to no one. All ships, open fire!" The hegemony weapons were indeed more advanced than the Empire's had been. Their energy beams could punch through conventional armor like paper, and their missiles used quantum tracking that made them nearly impossible to evade. Against any other enemy, they would have been devastating. Against human ships protected by space-time barriers, they were completely useless. "Return. Fire," Admiral Han ordered calmly. "Disable their engines, but leave their life support intact. We want prisoners for interrogation." The human response was precisely controlled devastation. Gravity cannons reached out to crush hegemony engines while leaving crew compartments untouched. Quantum torpedoes phased through hulls to destroy weapons. Systems without harming the beings operating them. Space-time disruptors aged ship components to failure while protecting organic life.